Uh, Again, thank you everyone for coming. And I will just say this is a very tough issue. And I'll start with sharing memories that I have as being a kid. And it's interesting because I lived right on the other side of the river and I enjoyed the fireworks at the fort from the other side of the river. Moved here when I was 21. Um, but I will say that the reason this issue is so tough is because a couple of you out there hit it just perfectly. And that was that everybody's right on this issue. They really are. Um, I have very fond memories of when I was a kid. And it's funny because in my life I've experienced many of the things that I've seen in some of the emails and heard from the comments from the folks here. And my stepdad used to go. He used to actually drive into Washington and purchase fireworks from the tribe. It's a very real thing. Because they were you could get fireworks there that did more than we could where we lived and where we stayed. And I also remember my cousins used to live in Vancouver, and we would come there some sometimes because again in Vancouver you also could shoot off fireworks that were not allowed across the river. I enjoyed those times. And one of the things that I would say about it is it truly is. And I have chosen not to carry on that tradition for whatever reason. I really enjoyed it when I was a kid, did some really stupid things with fireworks. I'm lucky I'm still here today. Um, but maybe it's the cost, I don't know. But for whatever reason, I have not really carried that tradition on with my kids. We used to go to I used to take them to the fort. That was what we did on the 4th of July until that ended, unfortunately. Um, Other than that, we sometimes will go to various people's houses who sometimes have fire displays. But for whatever reason, for me personally, I've not really carried that tradition on. That doesn't mean it's not important to a lot of people, though. And it really is a tradition that I very much hesitate to and get involved in a way that will reduce people's ability to celebrate this for many, many different reasons. And one of them, I think, is looking back on my childhood, I really remember those times. And one of the things that I remember is being with my family. Nowadays, we struggle. Our families, our kids are buried in their phones, our parents are buried in our phones. This is one activity during the year where I think people turn their screens off and they can go and enjoy family time together. So I don't take this decision at all lightly from that regard. Couple comments that I would like to address. One, were you decided before this meeting? I can tell you absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I'm still struggling at this point. Um, Ride along. I did get to go on a ride along last year with Vancouver Fire. I appreciate the opportunity to have spent time with them. And I will say that my experience was not quite what would expect it to have been. Last year, actually, if I remember correctly, was a pretty light year in terms of fire events and some of the negative effects of fireworks. But uh, I did I did actually not see any real fires except for some brush fires off the street and some vacant lots and stuff like that. But what I did get to see was the aftermath because the firefighters were quicker getting there and putting the fire out than I was in the vehicle that we were in and getting there to be there for it. So one of the events was uh, somebody had when I walked in, I'm just kind of like scratching my head why. They had chosen to light off fireworks in their backyard on the grass, which was bone dry, and it ignited. They had I can't remember, it may have gotten close to the fence or to the fence, I don't know. Vancouver Fire was able to put it out, but my question was, why would people light it off in their backyard? And I don't know. I think there's a good chance that when you pass bans on things like this, and people are still, to some degree, going to choose to participate, even though it's against the law. And my thought was they probably didn't do it on the street because it's more visible and they could be caught doing it. So these rules and these laws, they have unintended consequences for sure. I also had the opportunity, I think I mentioned this last year, of spending the 4th of July with somebody who's now, is I consider a friend of mine, at her home where she had a horse. And that particular year, the neighbors that normally light off a lot of fireworks weren't doing it. And I think that my wife chose to come. So it was my wife and I and her, and we were sitting right in front of the stall of the horse. The horse was right there, and we were just enjoying our time. That's how our friendship really developed. Uh, we had a great time. We were laughing. We were enjoying the time, and I think that really provided some extra security. I think the animals can sense that. They can sense when they're stressed. They can sense when things are calm. And for whatever reason, that year the horse did very well. But it's a very real thing. I mean, some of these animals, they can be blind and they're spooked and they run. They'll run straight into a wall. PTSD. I'm not in the military. I'm not going to say that there are not any veterans that suffer from that. However, um, the loud bangs are, in my opinion, a problem, and more so the loud bangs. It's really the you know the impact from that. That's what really spooks the animals. It's a real issue. Uh, Nonprofits, the work that you do is amazing, and the last thing I want to do is anything that would restrict your ability to provide those services that you do, because they are really needed. It really is an issue. Where do we backfill that from? We don't really have the ability to do that at the county. I don't think the county's really making much money off of fireworks when you consider the level of sales tax that is really taken to the state. I don't think it's a winner. I mean, we definitely have to provide a lot of services that those tax dollars don't really cover. But I will say this. I serve on the RDPO, which is the Regional Disaster Preparedness Organization. And I believe the last meeting that we had was on fire. And they had maps available to us to look at. And there are areas of the county where we will have severe challenges if a fire does erupt there, because we don't have good road access, many other different factors. And the environment is changing. I grew up in Portland. The weather's no different in Portland than it is in here in Vancouver. Our summers are drier. I love them now. I love the sun during the summer, but they are drier. Sometimes we have really dry years. Sometimes we have wet years, but the weather is changing and the fire risk is increasing continually. We're growing, and even in the rural areas, houses are becoming closer to each other. There's no longer the big space between housing anymore. Uh, the comments about the ability to enforce. This is another issue. We can't enforce the restrictions we have now. We won't be able to likely enforce any further restrictions. What that means for further restrictions, I don't know. And the reality is, any change that we make, there are going to be people that don't. Oh, one thing, back to my trip with the firefighters last 4th of July, was all of the fires that I went to were in the city of Vancouver, where there already is a ban. So what I'm saying is there's no silver bullet to this at all. No matter what we do, there will be some good that comes from it, and there will be some bad that comes from it. And we're not going to stop the problem entirely. Um, their education. I absolutely agree with it, but at this point, without any other available funding, we would be entirely dependent on the industry itself to fund that. And I don't know what the possibility level of that is. And then the last thing I would say, well, two more things. One is I can guarantee you that no matter what decision I make on this tonight, there will be people that I care about that will be disappointed in the decision that I make. That is the reality of this issue. It is so divided, and it really is, in my opinion, 50-50. There are a lot of people that are frustrated with the rules. There are a lot of people that are frustrated with looking at rules. And then my last question, and this is what I've really been trying to find out, is what is a compromise? Because that is what I seek to find, is what is a compromise? I don't know at this point if that's safe and sane. I don't know if we do further restrictions. I don't know if we can get a task force together that can work on this problem and find reasonable solutions. Because the one thing I will say is we do need to have some level of change. I do believe that. The risk level has grown to the point that we do need to have some sort of change. My intent is to have those changes be as minimal as possible so as not to interrupt people's ability to celebrate and to spend family time together. So at this point, you know, I'm willing to look at safe and sane, but I don't know if I'm there yet. I would like staff to look into that and move forward into some of the details. I did have one question though. When we did have a safe and sane approved at one point in the county, did we have a 4th of July that was under those restrictions, or was it changed in time to where it didn't happen?
I am not, because I think it changed soon after elections.
Yeah, we
do-
didn't have
I think it
a
changed.
fourth under a safe
So we
and sane
never
rule.
experienced
So
it?
we don't know what that might have looked like.
30,
All of the
40 years
people.
ago.
Okay, it's our time to talk amongst ourselves. Go ahead, Counselor
Well,
Young.
At this point, I feel like there needs to be some measurable change. I'm not entirely certain at this point how to get there. I'm open to looking some more into safe and sane, but I also would like to see if it's feasible for us to organize like a task force of people that are on both sides of the issue that can come and deliver us a reasonable compromise.
Did we have a task force in the past? We did. And what is it, 50-50?
No, 90-10, something like that. Heard it all. 90%.
Oh, okay. We've all heard it all. It's all been heard before.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Not at this is our deliberation time. So
It's on your process.
our process is to make a determination whether to move forward with anything or not. That's where we're at. Every